So you're going to tell me what the 5-second rule is. What's that?
So the 5-second rule is just do it for the first 5 seconds and just like get out, do it. And if, if you want to stop after 5 seconds, stop after 5 seconds. But the likelihood is 99% of the time, you're just going to keep
Keep
going.
going. That's, I need to apply the 5-second rule to waking up as well. Cause I like staying in bed now.
So do I. So do I. But you're
But
allowed. It's
right.
relaxing, especially
Exactly.
when you're retired.
Well, there's a 5-second rule, and that's a perfect introduction. I want to welcome my guest this week is Shannon Bileski. Shannon has been a storm chaser I've known for years, ever since I started getting into it. Shannon's been doing this way back. So, Shannon's like, dinosaur age chaser, I think. No, just kidding. I'm kidding.
I feel like it some
But
days.
I'm just kidding. Shannon has got some incredible images that are my bucket list kind of shots. And I hope that I can actually not replicate, but get something like that as far as bucket list. And we'll actually show you in just a minute. But Shannon, thanks for coming in. I see you have Storm there. Tell us a little about Storm.
So Storm is about 10 years old and now she's biting me.
Oh, but she is creating a storm right on the
She is,
podcast.
she is a Storm, but I've always wanted a female Siamese cat. And so I was with my ex-partner and we were looking for a dog. And I said, we're not getting a dog without a cat. So she popped up on Kijiji and her name was Storm and she was born during a storm. So
That's
it was
amazing.
a perfect fit. And I claimed
Right?
her as mine.
It was in the cards to just
Yep.
happen. It
Yeah.
almost sounds like, no, come on. We know that you're a storm chaser. We know that you called her that. No, guess not. That's amazing. But again, yes, thanks for coming on. I know it's been a few different misses, and I finally get to actually sit down and chat with you, someone I look up to as a storm chaser and a friend, and I think this is going to be fun.
And it goes both ways. So thank you for having me on, and I look up to you as a lightning photographer and friend. So yeah, it goes both ways.
Thank you. Well, hopefully you guys will stick around for this too, because I think we've got some good things to talk about here in the next hour. I'm always trying to wear a cool shirt that's related to what I love. I always have my Storm Before the Com podcast hat. But I'm wearing Eat, Sleep, Chase, and Repeat. I think that's Helicity. Yeah, it's a Helicity store, whatever that's called, the website. But what about you?
So this tank top itself is Aaron J. Jack's that I bought years ago. And this is the one I get most of the tornadoes in, especially the last couple of years. So, Gary, South Dakota, I was wearing this one.
Were you there for Gary? Oh
Yep.
my gosh. The
Yep.
little spinning noodle thingy?
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a minute, but that was one of my, when we talk about most memorable, that's
Wow.
one of them. That's definitely a top.
Were you vocal? Were you like everybody else? Or were you just like,
No, I think I actually have it. I was taking videos and stuff with my phone and I'm just like, I guess most of the time I don't get adrenaline with storms and tornadoes and stuff like that. Cause I'm usually with other people and it's,
really?
I find that sense of calm.
Yeah.
But I found with Gary, because I was a lot closer than what I'm used to, and there was so many people on the road and I just see this thing. I was worried about all the chasers that were on the road. I'm like, they look like they're getting hit. And so I actually had quite a bit of adrenaline and I was telling the people that was across the road from me to kind of get into their safe place. So it was one of those times I was excited, but it was, especially when it started doing
it. Sounds like you were locked in.
Yeah. And like, especially when the noodle was happening, like it was was
Wow.
wild. It was wild.
That's awesome. And how many tornadoes did you? I don't like keeping count. I don't even know why I'm asking the question. But you said tornadoes last year. You caught a few.
Yeah, there was a couple in Saskatchewan that we caught. I was with my friend Corey Penner, and I think that was it for last year. Gary, and then there's another funnel, and that's when I almost wrote my forerunner off with a deer. So
no,
it was
so you hit a deer too. Then I remember
year, yeah.
I remember reading that your forerunner was in the shop for a long time.
Yeah.
And you were not expecting to get it back. By the way, Forerunner Club.
Yes, I love my forerunner. I am just, what is it, about 2,800 kilometers from 300. So
No way.
It's had a long life and it's still going strong. Like it still acts like it's brand new. I love my
It's your
forerunner.
baby.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was over $18,000 in damage. So
oh my gosh. Insurance, hopefully?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Out of pocket. That's brutal.
Yeah.
But even then, 18,000. So what did this deer do and what happened with that? I saw one post this morning from a cow he hit near Fort Worth. just this morning. Well, it was like several months ago, but I know he got injured, and the front end was just complete. Like I have seen in my law enforcement career, living down here in Southern Arizona in open grazing areas. We actually had an agent in a transport bus slam into a cow, full size cow going 60, 70 miles an hour on the highway. And it totaled the cow, but it totaled the van she was
Oh,
driving.
100%.
And
It's
she was
huge.
really injured. She was injured badly. So when I saw the cow in the guy's headlights and knowing that he's okay, what about you? Like, I don't think we talk about the dangers of not just other chasers, not of the tornado, but of the animals, namely deer. I know John Serlin hit one a couple of years ago.
I've had a cow charge me. I've had, I
Wait,
think
wait,
it
wait,
was
wait. Well, we're not getting past that. So, real quick, how were you in a position to have a cow charge you?
It
Were
was
you
in
chasing?
Manitoba. So Manitoba cows once in a blue moon will get out from their fencing and all of it. I was just driving down the highway. It was probably midnight-ish. And I was sitting there talking on the phone and I'm just driving along and then I turned my high beams off because there was vehicles coming and then I saw something in the ditch. So I turned my high beams back on and there's a cow and it starts charging me. So I moved over so it wouldn't get me, but yeah, I'm like, that was a cow. And I
Crazy
looked back at
cows.
my dash cam. I'm like, that was crazy. Like, where did this thing come from?
Thank goodness you didn't hit that.
Yeah.
But I mean, so what about the deer? $18,000. I'm assuming you took that thing head on.
Yeah. So basically, I think it was about 4:30 in the morning and it was right before Carmen, Manitoba. And I think I was chasing from like 9:30 that morning that I left and then was coming home 4:30 in the morning, half an hour from home. And yeah, it was a really deep, steep ditch. And there was a house with trees. And I guess it just came shooting through, and like I had no chance. I'm pretty good at avoiding deer, but this thing just popped up and straight across, like it was fast. So no time to
Right in
react.
the front grill and everything.
But yeah, like it punched in the front grill. There was brains in like where the driver's side light is.
Yeah.
It pushed the bully bar right into my radiator. Yeah, like I pulled over and couldn't get out of my truck because the door was pushed in so
Hmm.
much. So I had to crawl around, and so
Wow.
thankfully I didn't get to see the deer. Otherwise, I would have been a huge mess. But I was cleaning up matter off of the ground, like all of the debris and everything, and I found an antler. So, for some stupid reason, I took that home. I'm like, I don't know why I took this home, but
Prize
I guess a bit of shock,
trophy.
right? Um, so yeah, it was lots of damage.
Darn, darn. And have you always are you Canadian by birth and all that good stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up in Thompson, Manitoba, which is about 8 hours north of Winnipeg. So if you know where Winnipeg is, I think it's about 2 hours from
You
Grand
have a
Rapids.
little bit of an accent, but I won't make fun of it because that's just rude, first of all. But I can't tell either, and I'm not. I just don't know that many different accents. I can
Yeah,
just tell it's a little bit different, but
yeah,
it's not. You do have that upward inflection at the
yeah,
end,
yeah.
and but you didn't say
I, yeah,
not
I
mocking.
I have been in Florida, and ladies like, you're from Canada, right? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, why? I'm like, was I saying A? She's like, yep.
Did you really say a? Oh,
Apparently, we say it all the
sorry,
time,
sorry,
but
folks who live in
it's
the north.
not. You don't notice it, right?
Yeah, I'm not trying to insult people. I just
Oh no,
you know
no.
what, strange brew did me
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
Sorry.
Oh no, it's
Rick,
part of
was that
our
Rick Moranis? I
part of
think it
us.
was Rick
Yeah,
Moranis and
yeah,
Strange Brew.
yeah,
And of course, Fargo. I could get in trouble for mocking Canadians or Northerners, and I don't want to do that either.
yeah.
But let's talk a little bit more about Canadians. I don't know of too many Canadians that are storm chasers, but you do have I think Aaron's a Canadian as well, right?
Aaron was originally from Colorado. So
Oh, okay.
I think he was born raised in Colorado. And it was Michaela, who's a chaser from Manitoba as well. And they got together and now they're married. And so he's living up in Boise. So
Nice, nice.
yeah,
Well, what about you? So tell us a little bit about yourself. Can you just kind of start from the beginning?
for
Not
sure.
all the way to the beginning, like you glimmer in your dad's eye beginning,
Yep.
but you get it.
Yeah. So I grew up in, like I said, Thompson, Manitoba. So it's a northern, very remote town. Like there's a highway, but it's, 8 hours to get to any major city. So Thompson is the major city up there. So born and raised there. I think I left when I was 21, but I think it was originally The Wizard of Oz that kind of
Yeah.
tweaked that side of me that made me fear storms, I guess, and kind of made me fascinated with weather and tornadoes and especially lightning. Like I've always had a fascination with lightning, but I think it's that initial fear that got me interested. I would say, but I got a camera, like just one of those 35. I mean, I'm 50 now. So, it's a 35 millimeter camera back in the day. And then I would always try to get storms and lightning, especially trying to get lightning. And up in Thompson, we didn't get a lot of that weather because it's cooler up there than it is down in southern Manitoba. There's about a 2 week difference, and you don't get that moisture flow going all the way up there
Sure.
typically. But I did capture lightning. I want to say when I was 12. So ever since then, I just try to get that shot. And then digital cameras came out, moved to Winnipeg, and yeah, it was 2007 when it was my ex and I were driving down the highway to go see my niece in Brandon, and she was turning 3, and she's what 22 now at least. Um,
Wow.
it was a long time ago, but it was we were just driving down, and a week before that, I had told my best friend at work, I said, I'd pay somebody $10,000 to go see a tornado. I didn't have $10,000 back then, but I was willing to pay it.
Wow.
And so a week later, I was in the car with my ex and we're going to see my niece. And I'm like, is that a funnel cloud? And he's like, no, no, it's just a funny cloud. Sure enough,
Funny
like
cloud.
in 2 minutes, it dropped down to the ground, and it was Eli, Canada's only 5 tornadoes. So,
What?
and then not only that, we saw, like, we kind of waited around, and like there was golf ball sized hail, I would say. And so a lot of us were just pulled over, and then we kind of tried going again. And we didn't know anything about storms and the movement of storms or anything like that. So we weren't sure what to do.
Have you had your camera with you?
Of course, I had my little point and shoot.
Oh my
And so I
gosh.
got photos and video, and yeah, it was wild. And then we saw the Oakville tornado as well. So we had twins. So can't ask for anything better for your first tornado. It's hard to top.
No kidding. It's
So yeah,
like lifetime achievement over here.
yeah,
Like for me, seeing something like Pilger, I think it's Pilger, but seeing something like Pilger and the twin tornadoes like that, twin EF4s or whatever they were.
yeah,
Holy smoke.
yeah.
I wouldn't want to see the destruction, but I would love to see two tornadoes out there like that. Is that how big the ones you saw were?
So Eli was an F5 and Oakville was an F3.
Yikes.
So we were back on the food.
And you were hooked. And after that, I mean, so you said you were shooting in 35 millimeter. By the way, the new generation will never know what this is.
Yeah,
Click, click. They'll never know that. They're
yeah,
like,
yeah,
what are you talking about? The
yeah,
110. That was my
yeah.
first camera, the 110.
100%.
And then of course the 35, you go, oh, let me check. When you open up the
Yep,
film midway, oops, you just ruined your entire
yep.
roll of film.
Wife,
Yeah.
I just opened a camera because I'm like, oh, well, like I have all these old cameras, and I'm like, I'm not going to do anything with these or display them or anything. I'm just going to sell them and get rid of them. So I opened one up, and sure enough, it still had film in
Had
it.
film?
Like, whoops.
No. Would have been kind of cool to see what
Yeah,
kind of photos you had on there.
yeah.
Have you ever captured? I mean, if you have like links or something to your old stuff on film and stuff, I'd love to see some of those photos.
You know what? I have them in boxes somewhere. I don't.
Girl, that
Yeah, I
can
know.
be that.
I know.
We have a Tucson photographer. He's actually a lightning scientist, and he has gathered lightning photos from back in the 60s, 70s, and he's captured stuff on, I think, 1971. I saw that was the year I was born. He's a really older guy, and seeing a picture of lightning from my year that I was born from a camera that he
Yeah.
took from on film. That's got to be cool. I can't believe that you haven't shared that. I bet you got some bangers.
I don't know. From what I remember, it was literally just a little bloop bloop in the sky. Like it wasn't anything.
Okay, I bet photographers would ooh and ah at seeing some of the stuff that's on film. Have you ever captured lightning on film before? That's a bucket
Just
list item.
when I was like 12. When I was 12. Like it was it was just in the backyard, ISO 800 film shooting
Nice.
up. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so after all those years, so you've always been after the hunt. How did you learn to chase? Going from, well, this is great, I'm a photographer, but now I want to apply that. There are a lot of people, and even now, that still don't really know how to apply that. Yeah, we watch Convective Chronicles. We listen to, hey, everybody, Trey here. Of course, we're going to learn all that stuff. We
Trey's
try to learn
awesome.
through osmosis. Yeah, sorry, Trey. I'm going to plug you every time, every chance I get. But Trey's amazing.
I still remember when Trey was under 1,000 on YouTube. I'm like, everybody's got to sign up. Like, get him to
I know,
1,000.
right?
And I was just like, he's amazing. He's what he does
Oh,
for
yeah.
the community is amazing.
Well, and Trey started Monsoon Con here in Arizona too, before he
Okay.
even went to OU. So, he's always been just he's been a catalyst to get everybody else excited about weather and storms. And the greatest part about that is someone dumb as myself, and I'm not trying to put myself down, but he keeps it at every level, right? He has this great knowledge, but if you're someone new, he's not going to be like, he doesn't roll his eyes or anything like that. So, okay, enough praising Trey for the day. So yeah, how did you go about, incorporating, and how did you become an actual storm chaser? Like, where you felt like, yeah, I can do this and get after it.
Yeah, so in 2007, after seeing the tornado, I bought myself my first DSLR. So I'd been wanting kind of a bigger camera to be able to capture lightning and everything. So
You're a
bit the
Nikon
bullet
girly, if I
and
remember.
what's that?
You're a Nikon girly,
I
right?
am. I am. So
See,
it was a
good.
Nikon D40X at the time. So
Wow.
yeah. So I bought that and then just started learning about the camera and how to use it. And I think it was 2009 I got my first lightning. Like really amazing lightning to me. Like I was thrilled. Like I was jumping around for joy when I had it, and it was funny because I would just chase the radar basically. I'd pull the
Hmm.
radar up and look, a storm, and off I go and chase it, and hopefully there's no rain when I've got the lightning. Um, Up in Manitoba, we've got a lot of mosquitoes. When I was shooting this, I was shooting 30-second exposures, and so I'd hit the shutter and then off just do my little walk away and start walking back, hit the shutter again and keep walking and walking back because the mosquitoes were so bad.
I know this feeling. Southern Arizona.
Yeah,
Arizona, come on, wait till monsoon season.
oh,
You
100%.
just you
Yeah,
just let it you just let them feast. If it's that good of a shot or a scene, you've got the Mamatis at
yeah,
sunset and bolts, and
yeah,
just a vast open desert or whatever. Yeah, I'm like, I'm sacrificing myself to the thunder gods for this one, because you and I did. I came home with my worst mosquito day, had some of the most epic shots. So it's worth it, right?
yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you decide what is and what isn't, right? Never
Yeah.
know.
Did you have to take any kind of storm spotter classes or anything, or how did you?
Well, I did the storm spotter. I did lots of little things like that. But for me, I'm a hands-on learner.
Hmm.
I learn as I go. I'm more a photographer than I'd say a storm chaser. Um, but it's kind of melded now into more storm chaser than photographer, kind of over the years. But for the first few years, I want to say till 2011, I took a U of M storm chasing class.
Okay.
And then we ended up going on a little week long trip down to the States. And so it was fun. We didn't see any we didn't see any tornadoes. We saw some storms and we had some big hail and stuff like that. But, it was a little bit of learning, and, a lot of it was still over my head at the time. But it was a step into the learning. And then in 2015 and 2016, I went with extreme tornado tours. And
ETT.
yeah, and I think it
Awesome.
was 2016, we had 24 tornadoes in 5 days. And
What?
yeah, it was insane. And we were super close to all of them. Like we were 50 to 100 meters from all of them. Like it
Right
was
on.
wild. And
Dang.
then from there, I just kind of learned as I went. And, by that point, I had enough that I knew how to stay safe in the very least
Yeah,
and
exactly.
keep my distance, stay out of the hail and that kind of a thing. So, I'm not a hail chaser. I'm not,
Mhm.
unless I'm with somebody else in somebody else's vehicle. I don't want to
Right.
damage my vehicle.
Not the Forerunner. Come on.
Not preferably. I like my windows. I like
Yeah.
keeping them and keeping all of my gear safe.
Expensive too. People talk about trying to save money on chases. Well, don't drive into hail cores if you're not a chaser then. I really hate the
Yeah.
gatekeeping too.
Yeah. Yeah. But
There's
you know
no
what?
levels.
With all of the gear, like I've got like 15 grand worth of gear in my vehicle. Like I can't afford to just replace that.
I
Like
know.
if my windows get blasted out and they're damaged from water or whatever, or,
Mhm.
debris coming in, I can't replace that.
Right. You also can't replace this either.
No, 100%.
Yeah. That's the one thing. There's no refund, there's no trade-ins, there's no trade-ups,
Yeah.
nothing. Got to take care of that.
Yeah.
That's awesome that over the years you've been able to just slowly integrate. Do you feel like your level of risk has gone up as you've exponentially grown as a chaser? It seems like the images that you consistently capture, there's a certain quality to it, but it's also you have a different composition in mind. You're going for composition. It almost, like you said, it almost seems like you're going for the storm, but you're there to capture the fullness of the storm, which is kind of my thing too. It doesn't
Mhm.
mean I'm scared or anything, but you want to capture the full structure. You want to get on top of the car and the forerunner and get the stuff in the back, but you've also gotten some really incredible compositions. And that speaks more photographer than chaser to me.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that's one thing I've noticed over the years as I've become more chaser than photographer is I'm getting less and less shots
Mhm.
because I'm more after the chase than I am after the photo. When before it was more after the photo
Yeah.
than the storm. So it's, right now I'm having a hard time finding the in between. Like we had a tornado in Manitoba. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but it was the year before, and we had like a rainbow and everything. Like it was the perfect, like I've never had a rainbow NATO before, right?
Oh my
So
gosh.
seeing this rainbow NATO, it was like, wow. But my first inclination was I need to report this. So I took a
Well,
small video of it without getting any photos or setting up my camera or anything like that yet, right? So
yeah.
it's like I'm finding now it's is trying to find that balance between
Mhm.
reporting and being a chaser versus being the photographer. I think now I'll set up my camera quickly because I always have it on the hand. All I have to do is literally just set it up, let it
Right.
go off, and then report. So,
Right.
or having somebody else with me helps too, but sometimes that doesn't always happen. So
Or is there a lot of chaser conversions in Canada? Nothing,
I want
right?
to say no, but there's more and more every year.
Really?
But we've got a lot of grid roads up here, so it's
Really?
one by one or one by twos, and so it's all gravel roads. So a lot of us are just going down the gravel roads and not sticking to the
You
main.
can just pick whatever road you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah, you just still need to be careful because of rivers, but
Mhm.
other than that, like I know for myself, I try to stay, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead
Mhm.
on the maps to know where I'm going and what's coming up.
You touch on a topic that I think we're all, as every chaser is trying to do, is we're trying to find the balance, right? How close should I get? Can I get?
Hmm.
We all come on. We're storm chasers. We live for the adrenaline. We're extreme, whatever you want. I'm trying to interview other people that are skydivers and things like that, and people who race vehicles, and we're all kind of cut by the same cloth. We do love the adrenaline. We're adrenaline
I
junkies, whether
don't.
we say where we are or not.
I don't. I'm not. Like I am.
Really?
I will not go on a roller coaster. I will not jump out of a plane.
Oh my
Like
goodness.
I will, the adrenaline coming from the Gary tornado, I personally didn't like it. I'm not an adrenaline
Really?
junkie. No.
Wow.
No. So like I'm very low key. I'm a computer analyst. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like I don't
Okay.
this is the only risky-ish type thing I do, but I find with chasing, I keep myself safe. I know how to keep
Right.
myself safe, and that was part of the learning of it.
Yeah.
I
It's
don't really.
mitigated. You
Yeah.
mitigate the risks. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's me as in law enforcement. That's everything that we do. Oh, you're in law enforcement. Oh no, you could. Yeah, it's possible that I might not come home each and every day, but I train. Everything the same. I train. Uh,
Mhm.
and on the job experience and taking mitigated risks. You don't go try to search a house that's, an abandoned house where it's reported there's three bad guys in there by yourself. You're going to wait for backup. You're going to do those things. You're going to mitigate risk. Storm chasing is all about mitigated risk.
Yeah. Well, I find with storms, like for me, it's the beauty of the storm, and it's the same thing with the aurora. Like it's Mother Nature at its finest and worst, I guess. But
Yeah.
just the beauty that it brings, like the skies, like when the sun's setting and you've got lightning and structure, like it's you can't, to me, you can't ask for anything better. Like it's my calm to
Yeah.
everything else in life. Like everything else
Yeah.
is so fast paced, and to me,
Exactly.
going for a drive, it's relaxing. Going and seeing the beauty that Mother Nature
Uh-huh.
has, it brings me peace.
I'm smirking for the very reason that that's the essence of what the storm before the calm is.
Mhm.
People, I don't know if they think I'm dyslexic or something, but I inverted it for that very reason. When you're at the storm, for me, yes, I do jump and do an Irish jig and I do all the
Yeah.
crazy stuff. That's me. I act like a kid when I see something. I'll cry when I saw my tornado last year, my
Aw.
one tornado out of the 4 days I got to chase last year, on the plains, but hey, I don't care. I just don't care if people think that I'm dorky or child. I don't care because I'm in the moment, and I think you
100%.
described that well. Is you're there for that peace, that moment. You're there for the fix, basically.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the adrenaline, but the fix itself. So, Shannon, could you share one of your most memorable experiences you had while chasing extreme weather? And it could be the you get so many opportunities to really capture some of the most vivid auroras as well. So it could be that, or it could be a tornado or something, but share with us one of your most just memorable, if you could.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of memorable ones. I will pull up my most recent one, which was Gary, South Dakota. It was, I think the year before I went, April 26th, for all those tornadoes in Nebraska and Iowa. And that was my first time chasing on my own in the US.
Nice.
I'd always kind of partnered up with somebody in the US prior to that, but this was my first time, and I had made a lot of mistakes, and I was really down on myself for that chase. I saw 7 tornadoes. I helped somebody, pulled somebody from a basement. Like it just,
Wow.
it was one of those chases where I left feeling not the best, right? And it was my first one. So then Gary, South Dakota, like I had gone for some chases earlier on in the year. And then I saw the setup on this one, and I reached out to a couple people. Nobody could kind of get away, so I'm like, okay, I'll this. I have a gut feeling about this one, so I'm gonna go. So I think I had left at 9 in the morning or something that morning, got there, and I had pulled up to a gas station. And a lot of the time, like for chases, I'll talk with friends about some of the parameters and kind of what looks better and that kind of a thing. And, I've always had some self doubt about my own forecasting. So, this time it was all on my own. Ended up going down towards the Target and stopped at a gas station. I saw Ricky Forbes, and like there was the ice trucks there. So ice chip trucks, I guess.
Hmm. I know
And
what you're,
so,
yeah,
yeah, so it
different
was,
ice right now,
yeah,
right? There's a little
yeah,
context.
yeah. So
Ice
it was
chip.
one of those times where I was feeling good about my forecast. I'm like, okay, everybody's here. Like, I'm half an hour from my target, so I must be in the right place. So I had heard them saying that they were going to go north or east or something like that. And I'm like, that's not what I'm seeing. So then I started self doubting myself again. Right. And
All the
then
time.
shortly after that, I kind of parked it. I went a little bit further south and then parked it. And I'm like, saw the storm starting to fire. I'm like, nope, this is my storm. I'm going for it. So I was maybe 20 minutes from it when it first fired up.
Wow.
So raced down there, saw the first tornado, saw it kind of as it, the mesocyclone was trying to produce another tornado, and there was a little funnel, little nipple hanging from it, and
Hmm.
so it ended up going on to keep producing, kind of rain wrapped, and I'm like, well, rain wrapped isn't my thing. I'm not going into the core of it. So
Right.
and then that's when I noticed on radar that, another storm had fired to the west of it and it had rotation on it. So I'm like, screw this. Off I went back. I got like the perfect spot. I sat there and watched the wall cloud. I watched all the chasers like 5-10 minutes after I got there come pouring and streaming down
I
as
love
the
that
tornado
feeling.
is coming down. And I've got,
Yeah.
I set up a time lapse of it. So, you can see Reed and all these other chasers that are going after
You're
it.
like,
So
hi, I'm already here.
yeah, I'm like, I was one of the first ones here. So, it was one of those things that I felt good about my forecasting. I felt good about
Mhm.
my decisions. And I think for that entire thing, I maybe moved 2 miles. Like,
Right.
but from the first time was set up, I left, came back, it was maybe 2 miles. Like, it was absolutely awesome. Like, I didn't have to do much driving. So I just sat up there for maybe half an hour and then it started coming in closer to me because I was probably about a half a mile down from the house that got hit. And so right as it was hitting that house, I ended up taking off and going a little bit further down. And that's where I got my nice little pea spot. So I managed to get between some brush and I managed parked in
The
a little
door.
bit of a field and there was like a little road that went straight down. So there was brush and trees on this side. And I'm like,
There
I'm
you go.
going in and I had beautiful view of a tornado while I went to the bathroom and
Oh my
it was
goodness.
it was awesome.
Wow.
So yeah, that
That
was
that is tricky. That is tricky when you're out on the chase. Guys, it's a lot easier so they can I
yeah,
mean, guys just don't care either. You'll be driving you're like, wow, he's not trying to go for a bush or anything. He's just
yeah, no,
letting her rip. But you described, you described this memorable experience not just because the tornado was amazing. This is what I love about it. You integrated it was the doubt, overcoming the doubt. It was overcoming your own fears, your own forecasting, watching others go, I'm going this way. And you're going, oh man, they're experienced. They know what they're doing. Do I trust my gut or do I listen to them? And that's okay too. I mean, those guys are incredible in their own forecasting. So it's never a diss about anybody else. This is about
100%
you.
not, a hundred
And
percent.
the
Yeah,
way that you describe that is that, you know, you really put you really put us in the driver's seat in that experience because it's much more than the tornado.
oh, a
I
hundred
bet
percent.
you can remember the turns and I had a really great experience getting a chance to interview Skip Talbot, a few episodes back. And he was telling me that most of his tornadoes, most of his big chases, he remembers turning corners. He remembers the streets that he went down while on the chase. And he
Mhm.
really described the essence of the chase. It's not just, well, I got to the Gary tornado and it was just the most amazing thing. You've seen the photos. There's hundreds of people around this tornado or dozens of people. And it was so long lived. People who don't know what storm chasing entails, they need to learn that. They need to experience that for themselves too. I like also that you put yourself in a position of learning by starting off, not necessarily starting off, but by also joining the extreme tornado tours. Do you feel like that was for people who've never done that and want to do that? You feel like that's a really safe and perfect option for someone to learn the ropes before doing
100%.
it themselves?
100%. Because, there's a lot that the forecasting that they do and the decision making that they're doing as they're chasing and they
Hmm.
verbalize that. It's great to learn from that. And it's being in the experience and understanding the storms and seeing visually what's going on and having somebody with experience explain that, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
100%.
There's nothing like experiencing it when somebody else has that. They have someone else's safety in mind as well, but at the same time, watching someone with that experience, I feel so much more confident to get out onto the plains and not just chase the monsoon. Monsoon's beautiful; it has its own dangers, but it really is a great experience to get out there. For you, you've always, I guess, the plains continue up into Canada. How often do you get a chance to chase into Canada? Because we need to get that moisture right. It's still the same plume of Gulf moisture essentially that rides up across the plains and into Canada. Have you seen that if it seems to me, let me start that again. It seems to me that that plume is not making it up over at least over the last 2 years. We don't
Um,
see the high plains really coming alive
It
quite
it
often.
has, yeah. So the reason why it hasn't come up is because of all the forest fires that we've had and the smoke. So the last 2 years especially have been really bad. 2021, I think I saw one storm because of all the smoke that was in the air, and it was inhibiting all of that moisture and
Instability,
the
right?
instability to rise, right? So, last year we actually saw storms that became tornado warned, but you could see that smoke getting pulled into the inflow and then it just killing the
Really?
storm. It was wild
Kidding.
to watch. And like I'd love to put a time lapse together on it because it was wild to watch and just what that smoke does to a storm, right? So I'm really hoping this year we don't have forest fires and the smoke that we have had the last
Right.
couple of years. But unfortunately, climate change and everything else, it's unfortunately.
I mean, that's interesting, and I'm coming from the perspective of someone who really doesn't know much about Canadian climatology. I know the West is currently in a long term drought, and the EMLs are going to probably be. So far, we've seen some storms out in the plains, but we'll see how that affects and impacts storm chasing season into May and June.
Mm.
But I want to know, is Canada under a severe drought still, or a long term drought? And I know I say Canada, but are parts of Canada, especially
Parts.
in
I would say
the
parts.
plains?
Yeah, I would say parts. Like I know where I am here, like I've got huge cracks in the ground where I am in Portage la Prairie. Some areas not so much. So it all depends on the little pockets, right? Same with
Hmm.
Saskatchewan. Some areas have lots of moisture, others don't. So it kind of depends on how much snow they've had, how much, rain they had from the previous fall. Yeah, summer, fall time. I know we had here, we were like so dry, 123 millimeters in one night. Like, it's kind of that feast or famine, right? Like it's
Hmm.
some people get more, some people don't get as much. So unfortunately, but yeah, I think with climate change, the other thing that we're seeing too is extremes, right? So you'll have
Yeah.
extreme drought and then extreme flooding. So it doesn't seem to have that nice balance that we did once upon a time ago.
You haven't you haven't let that disrupt your desire to chase, though. You continue to persevere. You continue to get out there. How many years would you say that you've officially been chasing storms?
I want to say officially chasing, you know,
Give me
I want to
ballpark.
say 2008 was when I was kind of chasing radar. Officially chasing, I would say more 2017 and forwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing, and you continue to persevere through that. What role does perseverance, what role has perseverance played in your pursuit of extreme weather?
I think it's more overcoming challenges.
Hmm.
Um, you know, always learning something from a chase. That's one of the things. Like I think in 2024 when I was on those tornadoes in April there in Iowa, it was beat myself up a lot about it. And I think that was the last year that I've really done that because it's like, you know what? I'll make mistakes, I'll learn from it and move on. Right. And I take that going into my next chase. I think was it that year or 2023? My friend Corey and I were going chasing and we had a little area that we were gonna chase in and it had a good setup. Like it looked like it was good, it was going to go off. There was a storm that had fired about 3.5 hours north of there in Saskatchewan and it had produced I think two tornadoes. The her said it was going to dissipate and disappear and then these bottom ones were
Right.
going to pop up, right? So it's like, okay, well, things are looking better here, so we ended up going west. And we were joking on the way to our target spot that we're going to get the holy grail today. We're going to have a tornado. It's going to be at sunset. It's going to be over a canola field, and we're going to have amazing structure. So the storm that was north ended up keep going. It kept continuing, and we were seeing pictures from everybody
Yeah.
where our target in the south looked like absolute garbage. It was capped, it wasn't doing anything. So it's like, screw it, let's go north. And I think in an hour and a half it took us to get there. I was ready to quit storm chasing and I'm like, I don't like that feeling. Like that's not me. And so I think since then and since the 2024 Iowa tornadoes, it was, learn something from it, use it in your next chase and move forward. I don't lose that passion, and I think that's where things were going was I was losing that passion. And yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at now. And it's just, I take something from every storm chase now. And it's like, what did I learn? what do I need to do better? Or,
Yeah.
think about as I'm going into the chase day or whatever the case may be, right? Because no chase is perfect. There's little mistakes that happen all the time.
Do you
So
hold yourself to really high expectations though?
100%,
I
100%.
am so like people will be like, "Oh, that was a great shot, Lori. I can't believe you were in the right place." And I'm driving home like, "God, I suck. God, this sucks. What am I doing? It sucks. Everything I do sucks."
Yeah,
And I'm
so
just so
I don't
freaking
get
hard
to
on
that
myself.
anymore. Like I want to say
I
like the last year
can't.
and a half, I don't know. Like as I've gotten older, I think I hit my 50 and it was just
Mhm.
like, I've lived an amazing life. Like I always say, whenever I go
Yeah.
out shooting lightning and stuff, if I get struck by lightning and die, I've died happy. I died doing what I love doing, right? And I think I take that now as I go forward. It's just like I've lived a good life to this point.
Yeah.
Anything else is gravy.
Mm.
We all beat ourselves up to a certain degree. And that's, over the last, I don't know, like 3, 4 years now, like I've been doing a lot of self-reflection
Mhm.
and, because I don't want to say becoming a better person, but I am, but I'm becoming kinder to myself as well.
Oh,
So I think that's what's important is,
it
yeah, you
really
screwed up,
is.
but what did you learn from it? Right? What are
Yeah.
you going to do next time that you're going to, not do that again? Right? Or do better? Right?
Like so you've learned to the little devil and the little angel. For me, I've always explained it that way. You learn to kind of flick that little guy off your shoulder.
To a certain
Finally,
degree.
after
I mean, we all battle with that to a certain degree, but at the same time, you go, okay, well, what did I do well? Right? And try to
Mhm.
focus on that. Right? So
I think age and experience, in addition to experience, but age also gets us just part the way, right? We reflect on our past and we're like, all of that stuff was BS. I didn't have to worry about it. I learned as I might have failed, but I didn't fail. I fell forward, right? I might have fallen, but I fell forward.
100%.
I don't know. I know it's tacky to use those. I mean, even above, I can't see it. But joy in the journey. I saw this stupid. Let me see if I can't point up there, but I have a stupid little Walmart little frames that I put up there, and I saw it. Well, $3, and I was like, find joy in the journey. And I'm like, that is so tacky. And and then I sat on it like,
No,
man,
it's
I found
it's
so
real.
much joy in this journey.
Yeah, 100%.
So much reason for gratitude, and that's just the way it is. And getting back to what you said, you having had a good life even up to now.
Mhm.
My buddy Chris, I told Chris over the past few months we've seen some pretty cool lightning. He's like, do I get in the car? I'm like, yeah, you might want to. You know what to put on my epitaph, what to tell him. He goes, yep. And he says it instead of me now. He'll go, she had a good run. I was just like, well, if I get domed by a bolt.
Yeah,
He's like, no, Lori said, and of course she had a good run. Just put that on there. It's good. So yeah, it kind of applies there as well. Have you
100%.
had switching gears a little bit, going back to some of the stuff that you before you were a storm chaser and as you grew into who you are today, have you had any moments of adversity that you had to really overcome? Whether it was as a kid or with parents, did you have a really good family that was supportive?
I I
Or what kind of
I
speed
did.
bumps?
I've had a good life. Like I've got a good job. I've had amazing friends. Like I've had an amazing family that supports me.
Yeah.
Um, and that's one thing I want to say that I'm privileged that way. Like I'm very
Blessed, I think, is a
grateful.
better word.
What's that?
Blessed. I mean,
Blessed?
to be
Yeah,
blessed that
absolutely.
way.
Absolutely. But,
Yeah.
like that's the one thing, that's allowed me to do what I've done and where I've gone and what, all of that. I think the biggest adversity that I think I've overcome, I'm going to try not to tear up here, but I think is putting me first in a lot of cases and, again, doing that inner work you know, to make myself a better person. Like I've always been empathetic and you know
Yeah.
put everybody else above me. So that's one thing is learning your importance and how to put you first and what you deserve, right? What I deserve, right? So that's one of the biggest things I'd say over the past, it's kind of been since COVID times where there's been a lot of mental health and
Hmm.
it's understanding me better and putting myself first. So
Yeah.
Like even in the family situation, right? Like I've always been the youngest of the group and not taken seriously throughout childhood and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and even growing up, right? Like it was always do what everybody else wants to do, and Shannon doesn't get a say. Well, not anymore. I've got my voice, and I know what I want, and I'm going for it.
You deserve to take up space. I think that's something
100%.
like that you and I have had to learn, especially as Gen Xers. And I think for those of us that had to grow up in that era, I think we had to learn to do kind of so much on our own, even with siblings. I was the youngest as well, but I still had to learn to do it all. There was nobody there to really show me. I was there to get picked on by my older brothers, so they kind of built some resilience in me as well. So I guess that gave me the push I needed to be in law enforcement, but and not take crap when there was a threat. But at the same time, yeah, we really have to do the work, isn't it? It's kind of hard to put that work in for ourselves to
Yeah.
make us more resilient.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself feeling gratitude that welling up of resilience has built up over time?
100%. 100%. And when you talk about overcoming stuff, and like I think the last few years, especially after the whole NFT thing, like I did a lot of.
Don't talk about that.
I
Ew.
know, but it's something that I found interesting because it took away some of my joy.
Hmm.
And part of the reason of why I got into photography, like I do it for me,
Right.
like it's my piece when I go out into the field and get that, right? But that took something away. Like it was just like I'm not important, right?
About the
Like I've
grind.
got I thought I had some nice photos, but nobody else seems to think so,
I
right?
know.
But it was the space and that, and it was so, I've moved more again, realizing what that was and moving
Same.
forward, and this is me, this is what I deserve, and getting back to why I take photos for me, right?
Finding
It's
that passion for yourself. Exactly.
100%, 100%. So that's all coming back now, and
Mhm.
it's
Yay. I'm glad to
yeah,
hear that. I
yeah,
really am because you've always been that supportive person. There's so many people I just see online that are going through this, they're experiencing the same things and they end up making the same mistakes. They give in to the self doubt and the self worth, the lack of
mhm,
self worth. And there's like, but they suffer in silence. They don't
yeah,
share that with others,
yeah.
and
I think
I'm
I
just
think a lot of
grateful.
people do. I don't. I think that's just human nature. That I think it's something that you have to grow up with and have that confidence to begin with. I think maybe I don't know. Like I'd love to talk to people who don't experience that and the
Yeah,
childhood and their upbringing of I don't know. It's the whole psychology behind it is pretty
absolutely.
cool. So yeah,
Do you think that do you think people nowadays, even in the chaser community, do you think that they feel more alone than as a community?
I think so. I look at stuff that goes on, and like I've been involved in some drama, and it's just like I can't
It's tough.
stand drama. Like
I
it's
know.
triggering to me. So whenever I see any kind of drama, I just back away. And that's why
Hmm.
I'm so quiet online half of the time, because it's like I don't want to be a part of any of
I know.
that drama. Like
Same.
it's literally triggering for me. So it's just, you
And it's
know,
just rot, isn't it? It's like a piece of you starts to rot when you
yeah,
get into that.
yeah,
Yeah, you might have fun, but for a second, yeah, let me get into this and everything. I just remember, a spat that I got into, and someone who followed me and somebody else were like, I really have been following you guys because I love your work. I love your work, but it really depresses me when I see you guys fighting each other.
mhm.
And
Oh, 100%,
it brings me sadness. And it was a
100%.
private message
Yeah.
and it broke me. It really, really broke. I was like, what the heck am I doing? Even caring about what other people think about what I do or feeling the need to, having my siblings, I'll admit, it's the need to defend myself. No, you see chasers do that. Come on, pull up and this and that. And it's horse crap, you don't need to do that.
Good for
Something
you.
we learned about in that space before is moving with intention. I want to do that and I don't want to waste any more time in the drama or anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the thing that I find is that because I'm empathetic, I feel bad for somebody. And then, like yeah, I won't even go into details, but yeah, like it's just like one thing led to another, and all of a sudden, a good friend is no longer a friend anymore. And it's like,
I
okay, like
know.
what the hell happened? Like, I'm like, I stood up for somebody, and okay, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and it's just like, so I'm just turning myself off, like from social media for the most part, like
sure.
especially the drama. Like it's just like I don't, it's upsetting, it's depressing.
But the
Um,
community loves it. It gets clicks. Elon has really worked that. He's worked that algorithm to, if you want clicks, you want follows, you want all that. I would like to go over a few photos before we peace out here, if you don't mind. And I am just going to pull these up here. What would you say while I'm bringing these up? What would you say to those younger generation youth? What would you speak to them as far as overcoming the stuff that they're going through to get to find their confidence that
yeah,
they need to get out there and do it themselves?
yeah, like don't be overconfident because you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know a lot.
Right.
Learn from others, reach out. Like there's a lot of chasers out there who have, the experience and everything, and are
Yeah.
willing to reach out, right? And answer questions and be there for others. So, but do the due diligence and do your learning. Don't expect to just hop in with somebody and, you know, not and learn everything, right? Like
Put the work in. Yeah.
100%, 100%. Yeah.
But it comes from putting the work in comes from a position where you finally find the self dignity, the self respect to say, I can do this. I will do this. I'm going to fail. I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm going to go
100%,
forward because it's what I'm passionate about. Don't worry about making mistakes. Do it. The
100%.
people that sit on the sidelines and never actually jump into the
Yeah.
ring,
Live
it's
your dream. Live your
live your
dream
dream.
and find a way to do it, and you'll get there.
Damn.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And speaking of, look at this, man. Okay, so I'm gonna let you explain these just so we can wrap this up. But
So this
you know
was
what?
Gary.
This is Gary. I was
That's
gonna say
Gary.
I love this. You know what? When I saw this photo, I love the RFD cut where you can
Yep.
look up into the core there, and it's just
Yep.
like
Yep.
for me, it's just tasty.
Yep.
Those are the adjectives I use. It was delicious.
Yeah. So
But you have
basically where
yeah.
that base is over on the right hand side there, that's where the Gary tornado started.
We
It was
started over
pretty
here.
much over there. There was a wall cloud, and then it just kind of moved over, and yeah, and then
No
became
kidding.
that. But yeah, I took a step back and took a
Oh,
picture
I
with
love it.
my truck. So I think I was there for just over a half an hour taking a time lapse of the entire thing.
Oh my gosh. Have you released that time lapse?
No, because I'm struggling with it.
You
Yeah,
suck.
yeah, I
Share.
need to get the newest LR time lapse. I think that's what my issue is that I'm on an old five version 5.
Yeah.
So it just is messing with it. So I think I just need to reset it all back to 1 and
hmm
get the new version.
Actually, I think it's going to be the Adobe, what's it called? The DNG converter.
Okay.
Here, I'm like,
Okay.
it's not even showing me the LR time lapse here. I'm not sharing the window, but and it's the Adobe DNG converter.
Okay.
All right, so you mentioned LR time lapse. For those of you who don't know, LR time lapse is an application. It's software that will help you generate a really crisp, smooth time lapse. It won't stabilize your video, but it will ramp up your exposure settings and everything, especially if a day to night. What is that called? The
Uh,
Holy Grail.
yeah.
So if you have that day and night sequence trying to capture the right exposure, LR time lapse will create your time lapse for you and actually balance out all the white balances and settings through that using Lightroom and LR time lapse. So what what you're talking about, Shannon, is that you're having problems with that. I think that it's the Adobe DNG converter because all the new Adobe stuff is just trying to bog down my older computer too. And
Okay.
I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
that's what it is that DNG converter.
Yeah. Well, I was using a little bit of AI to do the sky versus the foreground
Mm-hmm.
and kind of do specific settings there, and it wasn't liking that at all. So
I don't use that. I still use the LR time lapse, the the
The
split where you
gradients.
can grab, yeah, the
Yeah.
gradients. Yeah, I
Yeah.
use those and to do that, and I only use that because it seems like it gets wonky.
Yeah.
It creates a weird time lapse as well. So yeah, that happens, but I still want to see it. So you're gonna have to do something. You
I'll
have to
do
get with the
something.
program because you don't go out there capture these beautiful time lapses and not share it with the world.
Yeah, it's been forever since I've done a time lapse, but yeah.
Good time. And do you have a name for your forerunner? I
My
know.
license plate is Stormtroop.
Stormtroop?
Stormtrooper. Yep.
My goodness.
Because like
Cool.
so when I bought this
All right.
vehicle from Tom Smetana, I actually had a vision with this and I've pretty much done most of the work on this myself. So like I changed
Right on.
the handles out to be black. I've got, as you can see, there's a little tornado on my above my trail. So I
Hmm.
put the trail and the tornado on it and the roof rack and the ladder and the wheels. That's all
That's
me.
badass.
And
Nice,
then I
nice. Are those MTs? Are those mud terrains? Or are those all terrains?
that is the KO2s.
Oh, they are KO2s. That's what I got. I like the rims too.
Yeah,
The wheels are
thanks.
all black. I got the TRD rims, but sorry, fangirling on Toyota stuff. But that was a great shot. I love the composition, and I love the fact that you step back and you got something unique about it too. But I'm sure because this is personal to you, the truck is also personal to you as well.
Yeah,
I love this shot. This is freaking. I know the girls who chase uses this as their profile a lot, but
yeah,
I freaking want a shot like this. But that one would probably be me getting domed. It'd be like, here's Lori getting struck by lightning. You'll see the upward leaders, the upward streamers going up to meet the bolt, and
yeah.
it'll be lights out.
This was kind of my vision when I bought my truck was to get a shot like this, a with the tornado and this one with the lightning.
I love the
There was yeah, like it was this is a composite, so I was waiting for the
okay,
lightning and I did get a couple with me on there like that, but I think I had ended up having to put two together because I had already gotten down from there, but
okay.
this was a better lightning bolt anyways.
Were
And
you were you like this? Like, come on, hurry up!
yeah,
And you're
yeah,
like, okay, I give up.
yeah. And
I
then it
know
was
that
just like
feeling.
slowly slinked down.
Yeah,
So yeah, the
yeah.
friends
You
that were
don't want
with
to
me and were
be
like, this is a Darwin moment. I'm like, yeah, well,
right.
yeah, sometimes we do
And
stupid
are
stuff,
you in
but
sandals? I'm gonna
yeah,
dock
flip
you a
flops.
couple of points in flip flops, by the way, because look at
Yeah,
all
I
the
don't chase
ticks.
in flip flops anymore.
Yeah.
I learned my
Anyways,
lesson, and my friend
I'll
had.
be a little judgmental there. Sorry. That's two demerits.
Yeah,
I've seen this shot, one of my all-time favorite shots. It's just, whoo.
yeah, the
I
GIF
mean, I got
that
my
I
shot
created out
that's
of this.
similar.
Yeah,
Huh?
the GIF that I created out of this, like I've got it on
That's right.
that little liquid
Where it
crystal display or
spins. Yeah,
whatever, where
yeah.
it's yeah spinning. I love.
Isn't that on Twitter? You can actually pull that up, right? When you type in
Yeah, I took it
supercell.
off of my main pinned one now, but yeah,
Where was this? Was this in Canada?
Saskatchewan. Yeah, it was tornado warned at the time that it was doing this, and then yeah, ended up getting ourselves into a little bit of trouble afterwards. But um, we're pretty sure that there was a tornado. Data was bad. Like the radar scan hadn't updated it. The radar or the hail didn't look too bad, so we ended
Uh-huh.
up hunkering down. We were going to go chase it a little bit further, and then the road ended up being crap. And yeah, we ended up. We're pretty sure that there was a tornado just north of us
Wow.
because like the winds were shifting all over the place. I was parked in between two grain bins, and I could see the grain bin in front of me kind of lifting up, and it was
Shoot.
yeah, it was
That's a little
a little
hairy.
sketchy. Yeah, we had
Yeah.
the ghost train going through with us, so yeah, we were close to something.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now,
Times.
when I know, I've learned. Thank you, Skip Talbot. I have learned storm spotting, and I've watched those videos over and over. So I know when I see ghosts, when I see chasers driving, and you see that little inflow band of just that little rain wrap, that little spin of rain shooting into it. Also, I love this. I love the inflow here.
Hmm.
Just the cloud, just moving in with the inflow. I just, I'm able to, as I get more experience. I'm like talking to Dr. Cameron and just so many others. Like, man, now I know what this is, like this laminar stuff and why dry air is actually getting entrained into the mid levels. And anyways, I'm a
Yeah,
nerd, but I have so much to learn. And other chasers like, duh, yeah, we've known that for years,
yeah,
dummy. But
yeah. Rachel
no,
Sanner
I
actually had some really good videos coming out recently too. I don't know if they're
I
new or
I
old,
watch
but
them all.
one popped up recently and it was just like, wow.
Yeah, Tornado Titans. I watch
Yeah.
every video.
Yeah.
Love Rachel.
Yeah.
So what do we got here?
So
Got
this
the
is
Mams
Dodge
going.
City Day. It was after seeing, what was it, 12 tornadoes? Dodge City, we had 3 tornadoes on the
What?
ground at once. This was kind of the aftermath. All of us were just kind of buzzing from the day. And then this
Hell yeah.
mematis happened, and we were in a parking lot. And they said, well, do you want to go out for photos or do you want to buy alcohol? And I'm like, here's $25, get my alcohol. I'm coming to shoot photos. So I got a little bit of
Awesome.
both. So
Nice,
it was,
nice.
and I got a booter for this one. So this was a mud puddle. And yeah, my one sneaker was completely covered in
You got
mud
you
and it was soaked. Yeah,
really.
yeah.
It was
But it,
worth
it
it
was
though.
worth it. It was so worth it.
I was going to say this is really good Mamatis reflection and everything, but then you describe the whole story about it. And to me, that's why I want these kind of photos. Like, it's a really great photo, but it's not as great until you tell me the story
Yeah.
behind it.
It's the
I
adventure
love
behind
it.
it and all the memories that come along with it. And that's what I mean by,
Absolutely.
you know, you know, getting out and just going for the chase and it's the experience.
My biggest favorite photos, see that one back there. I mean, because and I just share it all the time, and it's my biggest, baddest, most awesomest lightning photo. And I don't think I've beat it. I've had other shots that I'm really proud of, that I've really tried for my 6 year shot and all that stuff. But
Mhm.
I just love the colors in this one, and I want to
Yeah.
replicate that someday.
Yeah.
But I can tell
You
you,
will.
I can tell you the whole story behind it too. And
Awesome.
now
I would
talking
love
about
to hear it
laminar
one day.
stacks. Look at this pancake.
Yeah. So this one was South Dakota, or sorry, North Dakota. So this was a day where it reminded me a lot of, what was that town in Manitoba? Shoot, there was a big tornado. I can never remember the town though. South of Verdun, uh, Scarth, Manitoba. Um, that day I didn't actually go out for the tornado that day. I had a migraine, and then I'm like, the data wasn't looking the best, so it was kind of wishy-washy. If it went, it would have been okay. And this day reminded me of that day, and it was one of those learning lessons that, okay, this is what the parameters were, this is what it did, and this is exactly what happened. So it was one of those things where it was going to be skirting along the border and then heading down into the US. And it was leading up to all the parameters being right at the border. So in Canada, we've got one border on the Saskatchewan side and 2 on the Manitoba side that were kind of within the range, but all the other borders were closed. So it was making a decision to
Oh,
go over the border beforehand
right.
or or wait until you're over in the Saskatchewan side. So I
Hmm.
decided to go down early and head down one of the closed borders. I think they closed at like 4 or 5. Like it's just stupid.
Yikes.
But so I ended up going down, and a couple of other chasers, Shelly and Dan Heinrichs, were with me as well. And they were following behind me, and we were just going through. And so it was so fast. There was a bunch of Canadian chasers on the Canada side, and nobody could really make it down because of where
Mhm.
it had ended up. Like it was still kind of meh, like very meh
Right.
just as it crossed the border. But I want to say within 15 minutes of it crossing the border, it went bam. Like it just
Wow.
exploded and became like this. It ended up becoming tornado warned.
Breathtaking.
We ended up getting like 2.5 inch hail. Like I don't even want to say how fast I was going, but I was going down a gravel road. And yeah, like it was hard to stay ahead of this thing. Like we saw a gustnado, like we didn't see any, like I don't think there was a tornado that dropped from it, but it was wow. It was
So this tells
crazy.
me this is a pano,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Looking at the edges, I can tell it's a pano. How many shots?
I want to say this one was 9.
9. Were you
Yeah.
shooting vertical, going
Yeah.
sideways, like from
Yeah.
here to here?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That was a wild day.
And then I think this is the last one. Oops.
That is
Yeah.
my very first tornado. So that's the Eli tornado as it dissipated, and that's the Oakville tornado on the left.
Holy
And it
smoke.
was quite a ways in the distance.
Were you just like completely lose? Oh, you weren't losing your mind. You were all calm and you're like just taking it
I
in,
was
like, "Ah,
excited.
this is
I was
cool."
excited.
Oh,
Like it's so I'm always very serious and very like I'm an analyst, so I get, I go down to the detail of things, right? And I'm a big worrywart, and this was the only time that I was not worried and my partner was more worried than me. So
wow. I mean, you're in relatively. I wouldn't keep driving in that direction,
I
especially
was
if I
ready
didn't
to
know
get
which.
out of the vehicle. I was ready to just be in it.
Yeah,
Like it was, yeah,
you were.
it was wild. Yeah, we
I
did. We
think
had
there's
to turn
that
around at
calm.
one point. What's that?
Honestly, I think, and I see this. I'm seeing this happen more and more, and no one's going to listen to me. Nobody gives a s about this, but the bug light tends to go on when we get closer to the storm. And I see chasers doing this even more and more so now. And now we're seeing spin ups all around everybody. And I'm just so worried that people are giving into that, into the, what is it? The bug's life, like, stop, stop, don't go to the light, but it's so pretty. And then they hit the, and that's what's happening with the storm chase community. I really hate to say it, judge me or not, but I'm so worried that one of these tornadoes is going to quickly expand and going from a, 80 mile an hour, 80 to 120 mile an hour, low end tornado is going to suddenly ramp up and cars are going to be flying and people are going to be hurt. Really, really worried that that's where we're headed. And nobody seems to listen. Or when you do try to sound the alarm, everyone's like, you're just scared. You're just
Well,
dumb. You
and
don't know
it's
what you're doing.
interesting, especially when you get into the chaser convergence, like in Gary, like I was keeping my distance from Gary,
Mhm.
because I don't feel comfortable being super close. I don't want to be in the rain and the hail. That's not my thing. I want to be able to take pictures and keep my camera dry and safe,
Exactly.
right?
Same.
And but I think you're right. Like with how close people are getting nowadays, and especially people who don't know how to read the storm and read the tornado of where it's going, what it's doing. Like sitting with Mike Scantlin, like he knows exactly what's happening with that storm. Like, oh, there's this happening over here and this is happening over here. Like we need to go because this,
Right.
like he knows how to read the storm. For a lot of these new chasers who don't have the experience, it's, you can have all the book smarts you want, but, you don't know what that storm is doing. It's unpredictable.
And you're not in a
So,
dominator.
yeah.
You're not in
And
a
exactly. And, like I know in a couple of cases when I was chasing, like trying to break through some of that chaser convergence so you can get the heck out of there. Like I'm one of those people that it's like, I want to be one of the first ones out so I don't have to
uh
stress about that. I don't like stress. I'm here for the calm, right? I'm here for the peace, not
hate
being in
to
the
say
middle
it.
of chaser convergence.
Yeah. I hate to say it though, that whatever you want to call it, bro culture or whatever it is, but the just the hubris, there's hubris involved in it. And people are like, well, you're just chicken then, or you're just, you don't have what it takes to do what we do. I'm like, it has nothing to do with that. But hey, man, talking to Dr. Pearsoff, talking to him recently, he's the same thing. He's like, he responded talking about people being degloved in tornadoes when he responded to the Joplin tornado and to watching people coming upon him, that when he was trying to treat them, he stopped the chase and all of a sudden he was working in the hospital there and he had gloves on, but his gloves were getting shredded because there was glass and bits in people's arms. And he's like, "What? Why am I getting cut?" And it's because the people had been impaled so badly that even their skin was, just had debris inside it. And I don't think that we've really seen the destructive forces of tornadoes lately since El Reno and maybe some of the other big ones. But I just worry. I worry
Well,
too much. And
and it's interesting you say that because, it's what was it in on the Iowa storm, like a lot of chasers had like there's the big river there or the lake or whatever, I think it's the river. And there's two bridges, one that goes north and one that goes south. So when I first came up to the storm, there was a tornado on the ground and I was worried that if I went north, I was going to get caught. So I ended up going south, ended up seeing another, I can't even remember the name of the town, but there was another tornado that ended up crossing there and coming across. And because I took the southern route, I was one of the first ones on scene and had found like a house was completely stripped off, like all that was left was the basement, and luckily we were pulling the lady out of the basement, and she was okay, mostly okay. So when you see that destruction and see what it can do, I don't know. To me, it brings a different sense of the destruction of it and making sure that I stay safe, but I'm there for others in case you know I need to be, right? So I've got my first aid training. I usually carry an AED with me. Like, I make sure that all of that's there. The one lesson I did learn from that is because that's the first search and rescue that I've done where I actually found somebody, is to actually carry your first aid kit in your backpack, like in a backpack, and take your backpack with you. That's the one
Yeah.
thing I learned. So I do that going forward now.
So you're not having to run back to the car and, oh, try to fish out something.
Yeah.
And that's interesting too, because talking to Dr. Persoff, he's not an advocate for people getting into, deeper first aid or deeper search and rescue just because of the fact that they can often, and that what he's seeing is that they often make the problem worse or they become a victim themselves,
Yeah.
you know, with whatever it is, stepping on nails or things like that, or making a situation worse where they're not experienced to move somebody. It's an interesting position where we have to all have develop our own code and come up with what we're willing to do. I already know
Yeah.
what
What
I'm
do
going
you
to
feel
do.
comfortable with, right?
I've already done that as part of my career, and I know what I'm comfortable doing. I know my limitations too. I know when it's time to just be a support to someone that might be at the end of their life, and to just not try to hurt them anymore, but
Yeah.
to just support them, call 911,
Yeah.
and to be there with them. But heaven helps, heaven. We have to be in this situation this year, and hopefully it's preventable and people are safe in their places with all the warnings out there. But that was really fun. I'm really glad I got a chance to chat with you on this. And
Yes, me
oh
too.
my gosh, please, please, please let me know when Canada is going to open up for chasing. I just got my passport and I'm
Come
ready
on
to.
up.
This girl's ready to whirl. I'm ready to go up there and chase some storms. So I'm really eager. I would love seeing those photos that you've captured, and seeing all the other images that you've captured, along with your aurora shots, which we didn't even get into. I mean, my goodness, you are also an incredible aurora. The compositions you get with the auroras too, and the colors, and even the editing that you do, the editing stuff. Yes, you talked about that earlier. That you're like, I'm proud of my work. And then you put it out there, and like, what? It isn't. It's all dead. Nobody
And
likes
you
my
know what?
stuff,
I'm okay with that. I'm okay because
and
again,
it's
I
not
do
like,
it for me. And there's the
yeah,
stories behind the images
absolutely.
that bring back those good memories for me.
I think it's so essential that we stop putting any kind of faith into thinking that people online are the arbiter of what's beautiful and extraordinary when it comes to photographer, right? Because I'll post the crappiest photo with my phone sideways, and there's a Taco Bell sign and whatever, and there might be a little bolt in it or something. And all of a sudden, oh my God, 50,000 likes, and I'm like, the hell? And then but here's the real shot that I got. And you share that later in
Yeah,
like
it's like,
10 lines.
whatever.
You're like,
Yeah.
whatever.
It's like this is the
I,
one I just spent 3 hours editing.
if you think that likes and follows and people in any other space, um, just because they say they're an artiste and you think that they're the arbiter of what's good, you need to look again. You need to find the joy in your own images and the pride in the shots that you do.
And I
Anyways,
think that's one thing as well that I've always said, like, my images are always vivid. They're always, I had one person unfollow me and
oh
send me
yeah,
a nasty message because they're like, "Oh, well, that's not what it looked like in real life." And I'm like,
yeah,
that's the one thing that I do is when I take a shot, I'm taking a photo of what I see in my head when I'm in that scene. So all the photos that you saw, that's what I saw, right? So that's vivid in my head when I see it. Like, the camera doesn't capture what I see. I'm pulling out what I saw, if that makes sense.
yeah,
And
yeah.
if nobody likes that, fine. It's
You're
me
not you're
that
not there to share
matters.
the raw file either. I mean, you have to put your artistic expression on it also.
100%.
And I go back and forth. I go back and forth some year. I go back to 2023 and I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I do with my editing? I didn't go back. And then 2024, I'm like, oh, a little bit. I'm trying to keep it more natural, a little more subdued, but I still love a good pop. I still love a not crunch,
100%.
but
And
a
that's
good
and that's what makes
contrast.
your stuff your stuff, right? So
Hmm.
when somebody posts something online, you know that it's yours. And I
Yes,
can pick your stuff out, right? And that's what's important. And,
absolutely.
as an artist, I guess, but again, like coming back to, I do this for me and my peace and my passion, I guess. And if somebody loves it, great. If they don't, great too. You can just walk away and not like it. That's fine. You know,
Because your self-worth isn't dependent on what that other person says.
yeah,
Some unknown Joe Schmo on the internet thinks of you or your work.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. When
I
it,
love it.
and it's hurt when I saw somebody that I looked up to kind of say, well, that's not real. And it's, kind of like your AI, right? It's not real. And it's
Yeah.
just like, well, it's real. And that's what I saw. So that hurt, but I've learned to look past that now and just like,
I
whatever.
have
Like,
to.
I'm just like,
The
this is,
people I
this is
used
me.
to look up to, I just don't care anymore. Like I look up to them because of their own style and their own this and that. And maybe I've tried to learn from that. But it's the people I respect the most who really matter the most. When someone says, maybe you should do this, and I respect their word, and they're they're trying to help me get forward rather than just criticize. And who does Lori think she is trying to do this, and that? Like, screw you, buddy. I'm gonna do me. And hey, no one's telling you to stick around in my circle. Beat it, So
Constructive criticism is helpful, and you can choose to take it or not take it. That's up to you. But yeah,
exactly.
everybody else.
But how can people find you and your work, and maybe find your works and prints? You offer prints and stuff, right?
I do.
Online?
I've got my website. I haven't really done anything with it, but if anybody's interested, shoot me an email, SHANNBIL at hotmail.com, or, connect with me through Facebook, Twitter. I'm on Instagram, YouTube. So, I'm all over the place, either as Shan Bill, SHANNBIL, or Shannon Bileski. And that's the one unique thing about me. And I see Storm scratching herself.
I was going to say, Storms started and ended.
Is that there's only one of me, so there's only one Shannon Bileski out there, so you can find me, just Google me, and I'm out there.
I love it. Thanks again for coming on, Shannon. It's been
Thank you
great.
so
I'm
much,
so
Lori.
glad to be able to do this.
Me too. Thank you.
That'll do it here for the Storm for the Calm podcast. Thanks a lot, everybody, and we'll talk to you on the next one. Take care.